This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday, and you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with multi-view, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action, make your Sundays more magical, and also YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday. Time is flying by. We're already at it. That means it is time for another Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at news and conservation from around the nation. Our lead story this week: Colorado anti-hunting organization's signature effort passes muster. Hunting ban headed to the ballot. We will welcome in Barry Snell to give us an update. Excise tax on ammunition introduced during a special session in the Cornhusker State. New Hampshire governor brings state in line with federal electronic duck stamp act. Senators Joe Manchin and Lindsey Graham introduce a better path forward for the North American right whale conservation. And finally, CSF hosts a successful policy forum and reception at the NCSL. We'll get to all that, but let us now turn to this week's guest, Barry Snell. All right, let us get to this week's guest, Barry Snell. Welcome back to the program. You have an update out of Colorado for us on all things horrible with the ballot initiative. On the cat specifically, I still see that they disingenuously still have Canadian lynx listed on this thing. Everyone knows how I felt about that, and I continue to. I mean, it's just foolish. It's just add an unnecessary controversy to it. But alas, here we are. Give us an update. What's going on, and we'll get into what the people can do about it.
Yeah. So thanks for having me on again, Fred. I appreciate it. I think disingenuine is a pretty good word to describe the effort from the antis on this. They're saying a lot of stuff that just flat out isn't true, unfortunately. And also, unfortunately, they were able to get enough signatures to qualify to put their ballot initiative to ban cat hunting on the Colorado ballot this November. We were somewhat optimistic. I won't say a lot optimistic, but we were a little bit optimistic that they would fall short. But sadly, those hopes were not realized. So we do have to fight this all the way from here to November. We got 80 odd days to do that. Yeah, so we do have hope. I don't know how much of the story you want to hear here, but we do have hope. We have a...
Well, I can go back to when we had Dan Gates on for a full feature episode talking about this and the issues in Colorado, specifically this, and then kind of more of a 100,000-foot vision. But, he shared your sentiments. He was very hopeful back then as well that he didn't think that they would get to this. And maybe it was the same idea that they wouldn't be able to verify those signatures.
Right. Yeah, they did cross the threshold. The Secretary of State has a process where they check out the different, they just do some random selections of pages out of the signature petitions, and they go through them. They verify that these are real people and so on. Their rejection rate crossed the threshold, which and they had 180 some thousand, 188 I think is what their final number was, and 80 to 150 odd. And then they had a rejection rate that still kept them over the threshold. So they did get across the finish line, and now that puts us in a position of, we need to get out the truth about what this ballot initiative does and what it's all about. Because again, just like you said, you said it right, disingenuine. Everything they're saying is either half truth or some of it's just flat out not true at all. We've done some polling. Thanks to some of our in-state partners. We've done a couple polls, and those polls have had two groups within them. And one is kind of, I guess you call it the control group, that is just straight up ask Coloradans, do you support this or not? And we are within the margin of error. We're on the right side of that on favorability. So the majority of Coloradans are against it, but we are within the margin of error when you just straight up ask them if they support it or not. So we're not safe on that. And the experimental group within the poll, and mind you, again, like I said, we've done this twice, so this is good data. When the experimental group, when we inform them, give them 3 or 4 sentences of explanation about what this is, and then ask them the question whether or not they support it, our favorability shoots up significantly. I don't want to give specific numbers here because I'm sure they'll hear this interview, and I don't want them to know what our data is, but we're very well situated support-wise in Colorado when people are informed. So we have messaging we know that works. So the agenda right now from here till November is just getting that message into the ears and brains of every Coloradan from border to border. And if we can do that, we're gonna come out on top on this.
Of the 150,000 signatures, and forgive me if you don't know this, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but are those all Colorado residents, or was there influence from outside Colorado?
There was definitely influence from outside groups, but the signatures themselves were gathered in Colorado. And that's part of the process that the Colorado Secretary of State goes through, is to verify the residence of those people. And yeah, this is a sample. They take a sampling. They don't investigate every single last signature. So there will be some more out-of-staters or people who just write in Mickey Mouse and, things like that. There are some of those that are in the signatures that were counted. But they have a mathematical formula that is pretty trustworthy. There's no reason to really question the validity of the way they do things. So yeah, there are some of those, in the Secretary of State does their best to weed those out, and just they want to determine a baseline of what percentage of these signatures are bad and what percentage are good. And then when they make that determination using the formula that they have, that's when they say yay or nay. You've passed or you haven't passed. So it's a reasonable process. We don't distrust the process. So as far as I know, there are no intentions to pursue any appeals to that.
Yeah, I just for me, and I've been through some of these in the past, that you get these petitions, and not only do you get people from out of state, but you get people from outside the damn country. People
Right.
from, the UK and, a lot of European countries weighing in, and it's like, nah, mate, your vote doesn't count over here.
Right.
But they'll swamp your system, and, it's just, it's crazy. Anyway, it's important to kind of get a feel on that. Barry, do we know, as the ballot is printed, or I don't know what you guys have in Colorado, if it's a computerized vote ballot, but where I live, it's a paper ballot still. We still have those, and we fill them out by pen. Do we know the positioning? Because I think there's a strategy to that, especially in a very hyperbolic election year. What's going to happen here on November 5th? You have down ballot offices that are available in state, your congressmen, your senators, all that. But then you have these ballot initiatives and, dog catcher and all the rest. Do we know where this falls? Do we have a say, or is it just up to the state Secretary of State where the stuff's going to be?
Yeah, great question. I can't say that we know yet where the position will be on the ballot because they are still processing signatures from other ballot initiative efforts. So I don't know that.
Okay.
I believe they use a random process. They just randomize it. So we are not going to know that position until the Secretary of State is finished with the other ballot initiatives that are in progress right now. And there are a few others that have crossed the threshold. I think when this particular one we're talking about, I think this was the third or fourth one that they had completed, and we anticipate that there'll be at least a few more after that. So, it's a good consideration to have because there is such a thing as ballot initiative fatigue, just voter fatigue on this stuff.
Sure.
You want to go in there and you expect to spend 5 minutes, just filling in some circles or punching some buttons on the computer, and then next thing you're reading War and Peace because there's a 100 different ballot initiatives that you got to stand there and read through.
Yeah.
And people are like, screw it, I'm done, and they just submit their ballot early, and a lot of them never get looked at.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good thing. Have me on again later, and we can report on that when we have more information.
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least, I mean, the one crazy side, they're going to tell their people to go look for it no matter what. And then conversely, we should tell our people, go find it. If nothing else, do your president, your vice president, all the rest of it, and then go find it and make sure you're checking no for sure. I suspect it's going to be this standard 10, 10, 80. And speaking of that fatigue, if it's not to the top two issues, and depending on the narrative, all these other ones, yeah, man, it's a lot of small fine print. I know in the past, I've sat and, I've brought stuff up on my phone, like trying to find more information out who's behind it. And 2 questions in, I'm like, golly days, man, if I wasn't so like into my civil duty here
Right.
and completing the process, I might just walk out too. But I mean, for me, it's important to put the effort in. Others are just they might do a straight line party vote and peace, I'm out. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's crazy.
We know that this is from other political science data and research that's been done in the past, just about demographics and who votes and voter behavior and stuff like that. And we know that there's a difference in the type of voter behavior for people who support hunting and fishing, conservation issues, trapping, recreational shooting, etc. A lot of those people vote on their breaks during work, or a lot of them vote after work. And that is a consideration. If we are number 10 on the ballot, these guys, they might only have 30 minutes. They got to get in, get out, go back to work, or they've
Well,
they've just spent all day crouched down welding something for 8 or 10 hours. They just want to get home and crack open a beer and relax. They might not be
sure.
in the mood. So that is a concern for us. We can't be cocky on this. We have to be full bore. The antis are really, really good at motivating people to do stuff. And I think anybody listening to this kind of knows that with some other issues that they kind of overlap on. They're really good at mobilizing voters. So we have to be really good at mobilizing our voters this time as well. But the flip side of that coin is people are awake after the wolf reintroduction situation. That has energized our base, our supporters tremendously. A lot of people were asleep at the wheel when that happened. I don't think they thought it was a serious threat, or they didn't think it would happen. And then bam, all of a sudden it did happen. And now everybody's mad. And that really shook folks awake. And I think that's going to drive a lot of participation for us to the polls for sure.
Where are we at on that, if you don't mind? I don't want to steer the conversation from this, but it's relative. I think within 2 weeks of putting those, was it 5 wolves on the ground or something like that, they did the naming and every little puppy dog kind of thing. Everyone's got a name. Well, these named dogs canines are out there killing livestock like immediately.
Yep.
Did I hear one died? Is that accurate, or is that somewhere else I heard?
Yeah, I believe
Of
that
it
may be the
reintroduced.
case. But you're right.
No.
The depredations happen quickly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the agency is forced to delay reports on that. It's just, so people don't. When the reports come out, they say where the depredations happened. So they wait for several weeks before they release these reports to let the wolves move on, because they don't want folks going out there and shooting them. So
Yeah.
so unfortunately, the agency is kind of stuck in the middle of this as well, and just having private conversations with some of the folks on staff there, it's not popular with them either, and they're catching a lot of heat.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. They're catching a ton of heat.
I think what's really interesting and somewhat remarkable is that out of all that landscape, you put 5 critters. What I think it is. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, so forgive me. But if it is the 5 wolves you put on the terrain of this giant space, I mean, almost instantly, all of them are getting into trouble, or a portion of them are getting into trouble. Like, everyone called it, like, this is a bad idea. Here's what's going to happen. A plus B equals C. And then boom, man, it was happening. Like, just 5 animals.
Right.
And once they start compounding that number and they actually start breeding, again, we all know this. That's not what this article is about, but I digress. I guess to tie it in, where we're not doing sound wildlife management with these cat populations, and now you have these big predators on the ground not being managed. Golly days, man, it's just a mess.
It is.
It is a mess, and it's gonna wreak havoc on livestock, cattlemen. It's gonna wreak havoc on the indigenous wildlife and your ungulates and all the other non-game species. Like, these critters are hungry and they're going to eat, man.
Yeah.
And they're good at what they do.
Yeah. So, there's always reports too, with human interactions. That's not uncommon to have human interactions with these big cats. Law enforcement's got to go and shoot them out of a tree because they're watching kids on the playground at school. I mean, these are real problems. So, right now we're controlling the populations, as all of our listeners know, with scientific management practices. But if that is taken off the table, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife is no longer able to work with us to manage those populations, we're going to see those human interactions just skyrocket. People are going to get hurt. People's pets. There's people in our group right now. They've had their dogs and cats killed, just in the last year from this. So that stuff's going to become more common. It's just a matter of time before somebody gets killed, and it's going to be all over the news, and people are going to start pointing fingers and. What are we going to do? So it's super important that we defeat this for sure. We need to save people's lives. It's not just about the hunting. It's also about maintaining the healthy population and keeping people safe.
What are next steps here? What can the people do that are definitely engaged or listening? They've attended the rallies. I think there was a big one this past weekend that had all manner of outdoor celebrity. Dan did a good job. I saw some of his talks. Beyond that, if you have relationships with people that are in that middle 80%, how do we best message to them? If to your aunt or your grandma, like, hey, grandma, this is like super important. Really need you to get out there and champion this and put a no on this.
So let me kill two birds with one stone in answering that question. The thing that we really need right now is financial resources. As they said at the beginning of this, the only mission we have right now through November is getting this message, getting the truth, getting the facts about this ballot initiative into the minds of every single Colorado from north to south, east, and west. That is the only mission. There is nothing else. And commercials, radio, the production of those commercials and ads, everything just costs money, and it's not cheap. So we need to raise as much money as we can. Every darn dime of this is going to be utilized. It's going to be utilized well and responsibly. And as far as, making donations go, this is going to be one of those times when your donation is going to matter. It is going to be utilized with the very best of our ability. So this isn't, you're not going to go pay salaries of a bunch of people. That's not happening with this. We just need to get our message out, and it costs money. And to do that, we need folks to go to Colorado's Wildlife Deserves Better website. And that is Colorado's Wildlife Deserves Better. Just Google it. It'll be the first thing that comes up. That is the issues committee for Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management and for the Colorado Wildlife Conservation Project. And those are the two main groups in Colorado that are working on our side. Those are the vast majority of our in-state partners are in those organizations. So Colorado's Wildlife Deserve Better is the organization where we're pooling our resources. And when you go there to get to the other part of your question about what are the talking points, the talking points are there. All your, you talk to grandma, you need to get her and her friends out to vote. Just tell her to go to that website. They got the talking points. You can print them out, email them around, whatever, and I encourage everybody else listening to do the same thing.
Have the in-state sportsmen's groups, like fishing game clubs and those types of, I imagine they've activated what you said earlier. The other side is, we all well know for at least the last three election cycles, we've acknowledged their prowess and their ability to turn out a vote. I'm not sure we have done anything beyond acknowledging it. We should be copycatting this. So is there a get out the vote campaign locally there in Colorado? Are we driving buses around to go get grandma and auntie and uncle and let's get them down to the station there and go in and do your vote, get them a ride home?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much inside baseball I can share, but I do know that those things are certainly on the table. I've been on phone calls and meetings where those things have been discussed. So those are definitely things we're aware of.
I guess I want to make sure people know there's resources.
Absolutely,
they need to go find.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they can research that.
Yeah,
out.
if they again, not to plug the website too many times, but I don't think we can plug it too many times. Colorado's Wildlife Deserve Better. We can get into contact with anybody through that, or if you want to go to CRWM, that's Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management. any one of those websites, you can get plugged into any of our in-state partners. We can put you in contact with them. We can help you directly if we can, whatever. So those are the pipelines to get to us.
This is a big one, Barry, and I think we all know that. I think we know that from what's been going on the last handful of months. Dan, certainly he's done the media circuit, and good on him. Key takeaway here, and what we've acknowledged, if this does come to pass, this craziness, it doesn't stop in Colorado, and that's what people need to understand. It's the southeastern states that have a great tradition and a great hunting heritage, those types, mid-Appalachia and some of the flyover states, like, oh, it's just been the way it is, and we don't really have to worry about that. No, you have to worry about this. It doesn't stop here. It comes inland, comes from the coast. They have a very sound strategy in place, right? And they are executing. And they're going to continue every win, every chip away, whatever they get, whether they're taking away on a bear trap, taking away hunting of cats, stopping baiting for bears, or stopping houndsmen. Oh, I want to ask you about houndsmen before we hang up. Any of these victories, they're build. They have endless pocket money, and they just keep throwing it out. And they will. They're going to come to Kentucky. They're going to come to Tennessee. They're going to come to Kansas. They're going to come to the Dakotas. No matter how good you think you have it, they're coming for you. And Colorado as an example.
Yeah, 100%. We are treating this like the Alamo. This is the Alamo for the entire country. And I'll explain that, starting with wolves. We talked about wolves a minute ago. That was kind of, everybody was asleep. Everybody was sitting on their hands on that. We darn near won it with slim resources. And if we'd had more resources, if people had been paying more attention, we probably could have beat that. But they had a victory, and I'm pretty sure the antis know that was darn near an accident. They kind of stumbled onto that victory. So this mountain lion thing is attempt number 2 to confirm that this is a good strategy for them for victory. Now, if they win, they're going to be able to go to their donors, which are all across the country, and they're going to be able to say, look, we have a proven track record that this is a good strategy for us on these issues. So we can go right around the legislature. We can go to the states that allow ballot initiatives, and we can destroy hunting. We can destroy fishing, trapping, recreational shooting this way, and we don't even have to worry about legislators. I was just in a meeting here in Arizona a couple days ago. Every single question I got from the game commissioners there, every single one was about the ballot initiative in Colorado. They are very worried about this because they can do ballot initiatives in Arizona. So this is, they're pretty scared that this is happening, and we're beating these things in Washington and Oregon. So Colorado is definitely the Alamo, and that's how we're treating it. So we have to beat them, and we can flip the script. If we win this, then we can flip the script and turn around and say, look, if we have the resources, we can beat these ballot initiatives and kill them in all the different states. And if we do that enough times, they'll stop trying because it's a waste of their money. So we can take that initiative away from them. We just need folks to get out and vote.
One thing I'm tired of hearing over the years, especially from the hunting community, is, I just don't have time. I save my days off for the hunting season. I save it for vacation. If this happens, you don't have to worry about taking vacation for hunting because it's going to be gone incrementally. And then you can have all the days you want.
Absolutely.
You've got it. If that's what it requires you to burn an 8-hour day or take a half a day and get your backside of the pole, front side or the backside of the day, damn it, do it.
Right.
You have to do it, guys. This is not an option anymore. It's no longer someone else will do it for you. We are the someone else's. It's over. This is it's the friggin' 10 seconds left on the 2-yard line.
Fourth down.
And, Russell Wilson's getting ready to back up and throw it instead of passing and letting it run to Marshawn Lynch. And guess what's going to happen, man? So you gotta stand up. You gotta go vote, and make time. Make the time, not the excuses. Got to make it. Before we bounce, man, I want to ask you, how does this affect the houndsmen? Because I know a lot of the states out there, they have the houndsmen that will run cats off of property just for problem cats or not killing them, but it's just to get them off those properties. Would this affect the ability to do that and stop some of the trouble cats that are out there?
Yeah, so hazing is definitely at risk. You're talking about hazing them, getting them, scaring them off a place. That's definitely at risk,
Wow.
and the houndsmen are definitely paying attention on this for sure.
terrible, man. I mean, you're not even killing them. You're just pushing them off
Right.
my property.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
virtually
and this
be a
is
protected.
why we do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they'll virtually be a protected class of animal at that point, and it's going to complicate law enforcement's ability to deal with any threats with the human interactions that we were talking about. Uh, and we've seen that in California. We know this is true. This isn't even a guess. We absolutely know
Yep.
this is a fact because in California, for a sheriff's deputy, for example, they receive a call from a school that there's a mountain lion, prowling around the edge of the schoolyard. Uh, they got to make 17,000 different phone calls, and it takes hours for them to get any clear directive on what they can do to handle this, if anything. And a lot of times, you just get told to stand down, just watch and see what happens. And and people go into law enforcement because they want to help people. They don't want to just sit around and watch some cat threaten some kids. They want to get out and handle the problem. So if this passes, this is going to put those things at risk too.
It's crazy, Barry. Thank you for your time. I know we went a little long, but I think it's important to do so and kind of get the flavor, the tone, the tenor of what's going on there, and a little of the emotion because we all should have some strong feelings about this because like I said, what's happening in Colorado is going to play out in all the states, all of them, and some are way easier than others, more easier than they should be, and if hunters are listening, they have to stand up. And even if you don't hunt cats or trap, man, you got to go protect our own. It's got to be one team, one fight, one voice all the way.
Yep.
Barry, thanks for your time. We plugged the website. We'll make sure we put it in the show notes for this week so people can just direct click to the link, take you to the two aforementioned websites where you can get information and contribute if you have the means to do so. Barry, parting words?
Yeah, get on those websites, just like you said, and either get in touch with us on how you can mobilize folks. Get out them talking points, start talking to your friends about this stuff. And if you have the means to put a little bit into the pot, we would certainly appreciate it. And don't be afraid. Like if all you can squeeze together is $5 or $10, every little bit helps. Seriously, that's huge. We would definitely appreciate your help on that.
Barry, thanks for your time. We will catch up soon and look forward to hopefully positive updates coming out of Colorado. Thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Barry, for your time and for that update. Little longer on that one than we normally do, but certainly felt it was important to dive into all that and let folks know what is at stake here. You heard it. It's just there's so much to talk about. So hopefully we can look forward to a great victory, a great win here in November, but that requires max participation, maximum effort from our community. With all that, let's get into these other headlines here and return you to your days. Thanks for hanging in so far. Let's go to Cornhusker State. This from Jake Gould. Another opportunity, another try at a sin tax. This time, Nebraska Legislative Bill 65 looks to impose a 5% excise tax on all ammo sales in the state. It was introduced during a special session called for by Governor Sportsman's Caucus member Jim Pellin. It's unlikely to pass during the special session following its recent hearing. LB 65 joins several other bills from across the country in what is a growing trend for increasing taxes on firearms and ammunition. We've covered this a number of times from a number of states. Yeah, and Jake rightly points out this is a growing trend and a tactic. Just like we were talking with Barry, another arrow in their quiver, if you will, the antis working against us. A lot of these tend to be ill-informed efforts to fund domestic violence, gun violent programs in their states, and they end up putting that on the back of sportsmen and women and recreational shooters. Yeah, it's bad all around, and this is all on the heels of on California and their foolhardy excise tax that they signed into law, that governor out there doing nobody any favors, and well, all you got to do is look at the news and see what California's got going on. A lot of good things, but man, they're a mess as far as this stuff goes. So, emboldened by that victory out there on the West Coast, you're starting to see this stuff prop up. We continue to engage. I want to say at this point, we have been able to push a lot of this back and in some really challenged states. And well, here you go one more time here in Nebraska. All right, moving on. My home state, Governor Chris Sununu, our Governor Sportsmen's Caucus chair, signed into law the update here for Senate Bill 310, which brings New Hampshire in line with the federal Duck Stamp Act. Basically, what we're doing here is just making everything line up to alleviate the confusion that would have, if not for this bill being signed, would have remained. So this is effective as of September 24, 2024 in the Granite States, the update, and that falls in line in the reporting we've had at the federal level, being able to have that duck stamp electronically on your phone, still getting the duck stamp, but that 45-day sunset per season is now gone. It was and is a top priority for CSF. We engaged early with our Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus leadership in New Hampshire. And we definitely want to shout out and thank our co-chair and co-sponsor of SB 310, Senator Lou D'Alessandro, who for many years has served on the Senate, and this is his last go. So thank you, Senator Lou. Co-chair Kevin Avard in the Senate, and co-chair and NASC EC president, Representative Jeff Goley, for his great effort and making sure this got over the finish line and got to the governor's desk. Coming from Chris Horton, CSC Senators Manchin and Graham introduce a better pathway forward for the North American right whale conservation. Again, another one here. We've had Chris on. We've talked about this one quite a bit at length and covering his testimony on the Hill about this. What's different here is Senators Manchin and Graham have introduced a bipartisan Protecting Whales, Human Safety, and the Economy Act 2024, that is Senate 4948. The bill would prohibit NOAA from enacting any rule that would modify or replace the current North Atlantic right whale vessel strike reduction rule until at least 2030, while also establishing a grant program through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to develop, assess, and carry out activities that reduce lethal and sublethal interactions between ocean users and whales. Seems reasonable, if nothing else, more time to study and engage and dial this in. Because as we said before, as it stands, these speed restrictions, these no-go zones, it's terrible for so many people out there. It definitely hurts recreational fishermen, boaters tremendously. Is less efficient for commercial folks. But all in all, here's some positive movement on it. Article goes on to applaud Senators Manchin and Graham for their continued leadership to identify realistic solutions for the North Atlantic right whale while ensuring responsible access to the Atlantic Ocean for millions of anglers and boaters, said Chris Horton. The current rule was published back in 2008. NOAA officially said that the use of technology to mitigate the problem is preferable and should be pursued, yet the agency has done nothing to show in the 16 years since in that regard. Senators Manchin and Graham are looking to change that with the help of the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus members Representative Buddy Carter and Representative Mary Peltola introduced companion legislation in June by way of H.R. 8704. And finally, CSF hosts a successful policy forum and reception at NCSL. Sorry about that. CSF has long attended the National Conference of State Legislatures, NCSL, where we connect with state legislators who take an interest in natural resources management issues, providing opportunities for sportsmen's community and members of the National Assembly of Sportsmen's Caucuses to come together and discuss current issues impacting hunting, fishing, recreational shooting, and trapping is critical to ensuring continuation of our time-honored sporting traditions. This was down in Kentucky, Louisville specifically, on the 6th. Again, the successful policy forum was held. Good pile of people were there, gathered for a night of camaraderie and discussed issues ranging from proactive ways to protect conservation funding to recent improvements to public access. In Kentucky, NASC EC members, Senator Robin Webb, Representative Bill Ream of New Mexico, Senator Webb of Kentucky, and Representative Jeff Wardlaw of Arkansas, and Senator Dave Wilson of Alaska were also in attendance and welcomed legislators from over 15 different states and numerous partner organizations. That's a good deal right there. We thank those for showing up. Thank those EC members from all over coming in and having those conversations. That's good. That's a good deal right there. Lastly, attendees were encouraged to attend, and here's a good plug, our 21st annual NASS Sportsmen's Legislative Summit. That will take place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana from November 19th to 22nd. If you're interested in registering, you can go to congressionalsportsman.org and register there, or you can go to the online article here by Connor. There's a link. Gets you right to where you need to go. All right, that's it. It's a long one. Thanks for hanging in there. Important news. And again, I really felt it was important to dive in there with Barry and really cover everything. You guys can go back, get the websites, contribute, help how you can. And for those of you in Colorado, grab your neighbors. We say it all the time. If they're indifferent to it, then just, hey, come on over. I need you to vote no on this. You'll be doing me a big favor. And get it done, because no one's doing it for us. No one's coming to our rescue. We have to self-rescue, and we have to be self-advocating. And you're not going to do that from your couches. So there it is. That's the news as we see it from around the country for this week of August 12th, 2024. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. We'll see you next Wednesday, and then next Thursday for another feature episode dropping. Next week, we're talking with Ducks Unlimited CEO Adam Putnam. Fun conversation. Teased that out, I think, last time. So do tune in for that. And yeah, we'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks so much for listening. So long. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.